Listen. Closer, do you hear that? It sounds like a kettle left on the stove, forgotten in an empty house. But that hiss is not a kitchen accident. It is the sound of 1 billion years of history turning into steam. Every storm, every tear, every drop of rain that ever fell is leaving. Look at the horizon. It isn't straight anymore. It is warping, dancing in the heat, shimmering like a mirage that refuses to fade. Above it hangs a red eye so large it swallows the sky. A bloated, dying star that has forgotten how to be gentle. There is no night anymore. There is only the baking heat and the water retreating, pulling back from the land, not in a tide that returns, but in a final, gasping exile. Watch the waterline going. Going.
Memory is a cruel ghost. Long before the fire, this sphere was a cathedral of liquid. Blue veins of rivers, white caps of ice, the smell of salt and wet earth. For 4 billion years, the water cycle was the heartbeat of the world. Evaporation, condensation, precipitation, a perfect, closed circles are easily broken.
We are 1 billion years in your future. The biology you know, the forests, the whales, the cities, is long gone. They were the first casualties of the brightening sun. The carbon cycle collapsed eons ago. Now the planet is silent. The rocks are sterile. The only thing left alive is the ocean itself. The Earth has stopped regulating its own temperature. The thermostat is broken. The average surface temperature sits at a blistering 47 degrees Celsius. The poles are tropical swamps of hot mud. The sun has entered its red giant phase. It is not exploding, it is expanding. It burns 10% brighter than the star that warmed your ancestors. That 10% is the difference between a garden and an oven. The ocean is no longer cool. It is a warm hypersaline soup, stagnant and thick. The water wants to leave. The laws of thermodynamics are calling it home. Back to the void.
The end does not come with a bang. It comes with a feedback loop. As the oceans heat up, they pump massive amounts of water vapor into the sky. The clouds become a thick, suffocating blanket, a white shroud wrapped tight around the throat of the world. Water vapor is a greenhouse gas, more powerful than carbon dioxide. It traps the heat. The heat causes more evaporation. More evaporation creates thicker clouds. Thicker clouds trap more heat. The cycle spins faster. The planet becomes a pressure cooker with the valve welded shut. We call this the Moist Greenhouse Runaway. The temperature begins to climb, not by degrees, but by leaps. The barrier between liquid and gas begins to dissolve. The air itself begins to shimmer. Light bends and twists. Looking at the horizon feels like looking through molten glass. The sun, now bloated and angry, fills nearly half the sky. It is an omnipresent oppressor. There is no shadow to hide in. The solar radiation pounds against the upper atmosphere, stripping away the protective ozone. Ultraviolet light pours down like acid, sterilizing the last bacteria clinging to the rocks. Now, we watch the death of the map. Fix your eyes on the island chain in the distance. Those are the peaks of a submerged mountain range. We accelerate time 1,000 years per second. The water line begins to drop, reveals the slime-covered shoulders of the continents. The continental shelves, vast, flat plains that have been underwater for eons, are suddenly exposed to the sun. They glisten for a moment, wet and dark, before the heat turns them into gray, cracking clay. The geography of the world is being rewritten. The Atlantic shrinks, the Pacific creates bridges of land that led nowhere. Great lakes become puddles, puddles become salt stains. The rivers stop flowing to the sea. They simply evaporate before they reach the coast, leaving dry, winding scars across the continents. Where does the water go? It rises. It rises higher than clouds ever dared to go. The water vapor breaches the stratosphere. It touches the edge of space. Here, the sunlight is a hammer. It smashes the water molecules apart. Photodissociation, the breaking of the bond. Hydrogen, the lightest element in the universe, is severed from oxygen. Untethered, the hydrogen floats up, caught in the solar wind, and is stripped away forever. The planet is bleeding. It is not losing water to the ground or the ice, it is losing it to the black vacuum. One molecule at a time. The oceans are being surgically removed from gravity's grip. Look down at the abyss. The Marianas Trench is no longer deep. It is just low. The seabed is a blinding expanse of white salt crystals the size of houses grow in the heat, forming jagged alien cathedrals. This is the skeleton of the world. The salt flats stretch for thousands of miles, a white desert reflecting the red sun. The ground is hard as iron. The mud is baked into ceramic. It is a pottery kiln the size of a planet. There is no moisture left to soften the edges. The atmosphere is now almost entirely heavy oxygen and carbon dioxide. The air pressure is crushing the sky. Turns from a hazy white to a bruised, heavy orange. The blue marble is now the rust bowl.
The kettle has stopped screaming because there is nothing left to boil. The humidity drops to zero. The air is dry, static, and electric. Silence is the heavy curtain that falls after the catastrophe. There are no waves to crash against the shore. There are no clouds to thunder. Only the dry rasp of wind scouring the salt crystals, eroding the history of the deep. Without water, the soil loses its glue. The continents begin to unravel. Global dust storms rise up, fueled by the temperature difference between the day side and the twilight zone. Walls of red dust, miles high, march across the dry seabed, burying the salt under a shroud of iron oxide.
Earth has become a twin of Venus, a choked, sweltering rock wrapped in a blanket of heavy gas. The surface temperature climbs past 100 degrees. Then 200 lead begins to melt on the equator. The experiment of life is concluded. Look at the glass of water in front of you. Clear, cool, reflecting the light of a gentle yellow sun. You drink it without thinking. You spill it without care. But that water is a traveler. It has been ice, it has been cloud, it has been blood. It is the rarest compound in the universe. Liquid chaos. The glass you hold is not a permanent gift. It is a temporary loan from a star that is biding its time. Enjoy the rain while it falls, enjoy the blue while it lasts. Because the kettle is already on the stove. And the fire is slowly turning up. Time is a thief that leaves no fingerprints, but it always takes the water first.